Um, I mean, you illustrious career, you've done it all. So before we even get into the book, man, like, and usually you say this question for last, but reflecting on your career, reflecting on your journey, and being in this present moment, um, what is something that you just feel like people need to understand about how you even got to where you are here now?
I need for people to understand that it's been a struggle, that I did not take the elevator, I did not take the escalator, but I took the steps. I went step by step and reached whatever the apex of my success is or was. I don't believe in anything that is instant. I believe in really stretching out to understand that there's a quality of a work ethic that one has to do. I don't believe in instant coffee. I don't drink instant coffee. I do believe in brewed coffee. I believe that longevity is the key quality of anyone's success. And anything that you get fast is going to go fast. Anything that takes a time, and I'm learning that at 67 years old, I'm learning the importance of really understanding that it's not in my time, but it's in his time. And that all the great things that are happening for me now at 67 years old with the BET specials and the city of Newark doing a street renaming and all the great things that I'm doing in this book, I never thought that it would ever translate to my current time. I just never thought of that. But I'm a believer in me and I'm a believer in other people. And I believe that people deserve to have a chance of life. I believe that God gives us so many chances. And I believe that we need to not devour or take away from people who are going through troubled times. I talk about the homeless and I talk about the domestic violence victim and I talk about the AIDS and the HIV victim. And man, everybody deserves, and the incarcerated, I think everybody deserves 2 and 3 turns of life. And I don't believe that we need to be judge and jury as individuals about how someone chooses to live their life. I believe in chances. And so, I mean, really, man, I wrote this book. It is a template to my life, and I do use those highly visible talents that I have been able to work with over the years as examples. But I really wanted to let people know before I let you go, I want you to understand that you're one of God's children and that you deserve to be great, greater, and the greatest at what you go to do. Really believe in that. And I think that we are one of the most misfortunate cultures that live and exist in this on this earth. I think that we have been cheated, we've been raped, we've been robbed, we've been pillaged from all of the rights in which we deserve as a people of culture. I remember at 14 years old, I got into listening and reading about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who I thought was a phenomenal, phenomenal individual. Where the people that don't look like you and I, they wanted us to believe that this man was racist and he wanted to separate the countries and the people. He was really telling us what they were already doing is taking care of their community, taking care of their culture, and understanding and dividing for these people the necessaries of their existence. And I went through him explaining that we needed to have our own farms. We need to have our own eggs. We need to have our own chicken. We need to have all of the things. We need to have all the automation on the cars, and we needed to have our own cleaners, and we needed this because if you reflect back on other cultures, that's what they have. That's what brought them together. That's what they are going to always understand. They take care of each other. And so this book was about us taking care of each other. It's about a community that should love one another and should care for one another. And I think that we're just so remiss because we're not loving ourselves. So I find it very difficult for us to love one another. And why it may sound very, very, mm, very self-centered, I tell people every single day, I love me some Angelo Ellerbee. I am romantically in love with me because I've learned, man, in my 67 years of living my life, um, if I love me, then I can teach someone else how to love me, and I can teach them how to love someone else. And that's what it's about for me. The mentoring thing for me is really, really important. I want people of color, Black and brown people, to understand the importance of mentoring and caring and sharing for your community. I think it's really important. I think it's important. And that's why I wrote the book. You know, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here for. I may be here until I'm 95, or I may be here until I'm 67, or I may be here until I'm 67. But the real key thing for me is giving back, because all of what we work for each and every single day, you've been in this business as long as I've been in this business, or maybe a little shorter, but you give so much, you know, into wanting to bring the equity and bring the finances, and but you ain't taking shit with you. What do you take with you when you go? You don't take nothing with you. You don't even, the clothes that they put on your back ain't even yours. So it's so important that we give back, you know, and with a platform like yours, it's important that you speak about the importance of giving back and mentoring people. People need to be, do you know the statistics with, wow, with mental illness? Mental illness is crazy. People are just not there anymore. Mental illness is a serious subject, particularly in our community. And you got to ask, why are people going through all of what they're going through? Somebody, when they was being raised, somebody didn't say, I love you. Somebody didn't say, I want you to be great. Somebody didn't say, you know what, whatever you do, I'm going to support you. Someone didn't say, I love you, man. Those are quintessential words that is so important that we seem to lack. We believe because we birth these children, we raise these children, that automatically they're going to think that we love them. No, they need to hear it. They need to hear about the word love. They need to be inspired, they need to be uplifted. And that's something that my mother did to me each and every single day. She would walk into my room and say to me at 6 o'clock in the morning, I always wondered, well, why is this woman coming in my room at 6? She used to say, my last born, did I tell you today that I love you? And I said, no, mama, not at 6 o'clock. You didn't tell me that you love me. But I love you too. But she did that from when I was like maybe 7 years old till I was about 15 or 16 years old. I always wanted to work her towards something better for her. She had an eighth grade education. She was a waitress. She had damn sure had a degree in just humanity and being human and being kind and being loving and teaching and educating and motivating her children to be greater than what she was. And I've always grown by that. I've always learned by that. I've always loved her for that. She gave me everything. Man, listen, I ain't got no millions of dollars now, but it was a time where I had millions and millions and millions of dollars. And all the money that I made was because of my mother. My mother showed me how to make the money, how to keep the money, and how to make a difference in society. And I will always love her for that. Yeah.
I mean, I love the intro to the book where you talk about her and your sisters really loving on you and praising on you, you know, and because you talk about mentoring, because you talk about working with youth, and of course I work with young people as well. How do you, because the question I do get often is if that young person doesn't have that person in their home who's building that confidence and telling them those things, what advice do you have to them? How does one kind of enrich themselves with that spirit if someone else isn't pouring into them?
You know what? I really believe it's about self-preservations. And it's really about finding yourself within yourself to love you.
Mm.
You know, there's so many examples about hatred. There's so many examples about parents turning against their children. So I think that everybody knows the difference in right and wrong. You know what's right and you know what's wrong. And so what you have to do is pour into yourself. I poured into myself many a times. You know, I filed bankruptcy twice when I was on Seventh Avenue. I didn't have no shame in my game. I, if white folks can do it, I damn sure can do it as well, right? So, you know, I never ever had a shame to my game. And I just said, this is what I got to do to sustain myself. And so I say to young people, you know, because I understand within our communities that we are raised with single parent homes. I know sometimes that our young mothers are so young that they cannot pour into us, but we see where we're at. We understand where we're at. We know how we're living. You gotta want to say to yourself, I want better. I want more. And then I want to pour back into my mother. And I want her to understand all of what she's given to me and all of what she didn't give to herself. I think it's about really, you know, they always talk about it takes a village to raise a child. It does take a community to raise a child. You know, it really does, man. And I think that it starts with you. You know, I think that so many times people want to be very accusatory. You know, they want to blame everything on blame it on your damn self. Because after a certain point in your life, you have to be convicted with conviction to simply say, I don't want to live that way. I don't want to live in that community. I don't want, but once I get to where I need to be, I want to pour back into that community. I know many of my friends, you know, what made me really smile is that yesterday I got a call from the mayor's office and the councilwoman's office of the city of Newark, where I grew up at. And they said, Angelo, we're going to rename a street after you. And I go, what? What did you say? And they go, no, man, you know, on September 19th, we're going to rename a street after you. When I hung up the phone, man, I sat back and I just looked up in the ceiling and said, God, you're so amazing. Because there was a time, you know, people don't written me off 1,000 times. And is he a has been? Oh, I see. You know what? I'm always working. I'm
Right.
always working. And I know that God allows me to work. But when I got that call yesterday, it said a lot to me, man. It said, yo, all these years that you have poured into your communities and all the things that you have done, somebody is watching you. And it's not always God. Other people watch you too. And so it's a good feeling. And that's why I want to tell people, you know, I get depressed, you know, like every other person gets depressed. But you got to come out of it. And I think depression is good for any soul. I think when you're depressed, you get a chance to think about what you didn't accomplish, what you want to accomplish. And I go through that regularly. Um, but the great feeling is that when I come out of it and I start to see, oh my God, even on Saturday, man, when you were there, that day meant the world to me.
Yeah.
It really did. While I was being me, um, it meant the world to me. To see all those people gathered in that room and that I individually selected those people to come and they all came
Yeah.
meant the world to me. It said a lot to me that these people are my followers, these are my supporters, and they care about me. And I think that every human being on the face of this earth just wants to be cared about. They just want to be cared about, man. You know, I think I told a story on Saturday about the guy that drives me on a daily basis. We were in New York City and we were driving, I think it was maybe on, I don't know, down in the village. And there was three brothers and they all were wrapped up in a box. And they were outside of their box. They was wrapped up in a box. One of them was sitting outside of the box. And I had just left the bank and I don't know why I got all these singles, but I got these singles. I think it was like 30, 35 singles. And I asked them to come over to the car and I gave them $10 in singles each individual. Oh, 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 and that's what I got. Are you giving this to us? I'm giving it to you because, it could be me. And that's what people don't understand. It could be you. I
Right.
could be wrapped up in a box. I could be eating out the garbage can. And then the people say, well, all they're going to do is go buy. That ain't none of my business what they do with the money. It's my business that I supplied them with the money. So if they wanted to go eat, if they wanted to go do whatever they want, that's on them. But man, I am not going to go off the face of this earth by not doing God's work and word. It's just how I feel. I really believe, man, I believe with my heart, my mind, and my body and my soul. I've been through so much in this industry that he just continuously, for 55 years, he's been blessing me. I ain't never wanted for nothing. Nothing. I live very comfortably because I think it's really important that you are there. And particularly with the young people today, man, you got to listen to them. Some of them are in such hurt and such pain, and you really don't even know what they're going through. And when they call me up on the phone and I see them, I ask them, are you good? You good? And then I ask them, why are you good? Why are you good? Are you happy in your and happiness, man? Do you know how many people ain't happy?
Right.
They just surviving. They ain't happy. Happiness is a completeness, is a completeness. I talk to these kids and I go, my mentor was James M. Tume, and I loved him dearly, and I love him immensely. So 2 weeks ago, I get a phone call from M. Tume's son, and his oldest daughter was working in my apartment with me, and he goes, Ife's dead, and I go, I'm gonna tell you what I said. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
And I go, Bob, what are you talking to me? What are you telling me? He said, can you go and be with my mother? And I race up, call the guy to pick me up, and I race up. Man, and I used to talk to Ife and say, Ife, I love you so much. We would argue. She would call me all kinds of names, bitches,
Mhm.
bastards. So that's the kind of relationship that we had. And I used to ask her, Eve, listen, are you all right? No, I'm good. I'm good, Uncle. I'm good. I'm good. I don't know what happened. I just know that she's dead. And I think that a lot of times people do not spend the time asking the question of our youth, asking the questions of where you're at in your life. All these young people, they aspire to be great too. But then after their mothers and fathers raised them, then the streets got to raise them. And when you get in that street and they start to raise you, it takes everything from the mother and the father. So you have to build a foundation of strength. We're not doing that, man. So many young people out here are so discouraged. They're so discouraged and they believe that they can't be great. So I write this book from the aspects that my mother had an eighth grade education. I grew up in the city of Newark. I had four sisters. Two sisters went into drugs. I filed bankruptcy, but yet it was the apex of my success that allowed me to work with Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston and Dionne Warwick and all these people. There's been 6,000 artists that I've represented over the 55 period of my life. So you can't use the excuse of where you come from and what you have gone through. You can't use that as an excuse anymore, man. You got to simply say, I came from this, but that's not where I want to be. I want to be here. Yeah. And so for me, that's what this book is about. It's about motivating people. It's about giving people a chance and trying to simply say, I came from the same place you came from. So don't try to bullshit a bullshitter. Because you came out of jail. Yeah, I have brothers and sisters that came out of jail. And So while you was in there, did you get an education? Did you get a diploma? Did you get a degree? What you gonna do when you come out? Here's what you need to look like when you come out. This is what you need to have in terms of a resume. And then you know you're gonna have hard knocks, and people ain't gonna hire you because you're a criminal or you're a felon. But why can't you create your own?
Yeah.
So but logically, that's not what they think about, man. They think about white America. They think about being accepted in white America and getting one of those 9 to 5. Well, no, you could create your own America. You could create your own opportunity. You could become a support system for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what the key thing is for me, man. I don't know. That's my key thing.
Right. Now you talk about the bankruptcy, and I think that's a very important point, simply because, I think for everyone, right? Like you look at success as this ultimate peak, and it's, you're going all the way up, but no one ever talks about the hard times, the failures, everything that comes with it, right? The entire picture. So just talk to me about how did
So
you overcome that?
you know what it was, man? I invested $2.5 million in a movie, and it was called Never Die Alone. And the movie featured DMX. At that time, I was managing DMX.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this would be a great opportunity for me to grow financially. While I knew damn well I did not have heads or tails on DMX in terms of him doing what the hell he was supposed to do, I
Right.
still invested. I didn't become accusatory to my accountants or to my lawyers because I did it. And there was times where X would not do what he was supposed to do to support the film. And it was an independent project. It wasn't through Joe Silvers, it wasn't through Warner Brothers. It was independent. Now, he acted his ass off in the movie. He was incredible in this movie. Michael Keeley was a part of it. He played his son. The movie was really incredible. But in terms of the commitment that he was making to promote it,
Mm-hmm.
and when it went, so did my money.
Right.
So it was $2.5 million that I invested that I didn't make back. And I
Mm.
had to file bankruptcy. I thought it was a good idea for me to invest. And at that stage of the game, it was a good idea. But I had absolutely no wherewithals as to his commitment to what he was going to do. I can't sit back and blame nobody, man. I can't. I have to blame myself. And so you file bankruptcy once, and you keep the boat moving. I wasn't gonna stop because I filed bankruptcy. I had 19 employees, sometimes 22 employees. And I always thought, they depend on me. They got to feed their families. They got kids. They got houses. They got apartments. They got to pay their rent. And don't nobody want to hear about you ain't getting no check. I had to get a check. I had to give them people a check.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in such a dilemma. I was banking with HSBC, I think at that time. And my stilo and my swagger was always what it was. And I would always make sure that I dressed for whatever and wherever I would. And I went into this bank, and this lady always complimented me on my style and da 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 da. And one of my best friends was a makeup artist. He created the line of Iman's Cosmetics. And I said to him, I said, Byron, can you give me a gift bag so I can get these ladies in the bank? Yeah, he said, yeah, yeah, yeah. So he gave me. So when I walked into the bank one day, I said, I got something for you. I got some lipstick. Blah, blah, blah. She said, Angelo, you're just so sweet. Key thing was I was trying to get a relationship with the bank manager. I gave her one, I gave the papa one, I gave papa one. The next time I came in, I would bring this one flowers. So now she calls me up. She calls me on the phone. It was about 8:30 in the morning. She said, they're about to shut your account down. Bring yourself around this corner like right now and get this money out this bank. Get it out. And I ran around the corner and I drew all the money out. She said, you can put it in a safe deposit box. But I knew that I had a payroll in 2 days. She said, this is what you do. Give all of your employees cashier checks. All you got to do is come to the counter and I will write out the cashier's checks for you. She could have lost her job, first of all, for calling me and making me aware that IRS is about to shut me down. 4 months later, I said to her, I said, would you come to work for me? She knew I had no damn money. She said, I absolutely will come to work for you. And she came to work for me. And I love it to this day. I just remember sometimes I couldn't make payroll. And this is the same lady. She would call me. I called her this time. And I said to her, I said, Joyce, she said, you know you ain't got no money in your account. I said, yes, yeah, Joyce, I know I ain't got no money in my account. I said, but I got to make payroll. She said, when are you going to make a deposit? I said, I'm going to make a deposit by Wednesday. She said, bring your little skinny ass around here. Write out a check. I wrote out a check and she cashed the check, which made me make that payroll. Man, I'm trying to tell you something that I have been blessed by leaps and bounds. I started my business with no money. None. Not a dime, not a penny, nothing. I had people who believed in me, and I have to believe in me for other people to believe in me. I looked at everything as like, I just got to do this. And I think it was really my mom. My mother always said to me, she said, if you can think it, then you can do it. And then I heard Dionne Warrick say the same thing to me. And it was just like, don't be concerned with the money that you don't have. And don't be concerned with the money that you're trying to get. Just go and do it. You know, I took my mother's dining room table out of her garage when I was about 17 or 18 years old. And that's where I started double exposure at, in the basement of my mother's house. And, you know, we had teen phones back. It wasn't no call waiting with none of that. You know, you just sat down there and there was this white girl. I love her dearly to this day, Kathy. I went to work at Chrysalis Records. She was down in my basement running double exposure. It's always been that. When I went to work as a senior vice president of Island Black Music, Kathy was still in that basement running double exposure. When I when I got into the office at 846 7th Avenue, she was still in that basement running double exposure. So it's always been, man. It's just, I believe in me. I really do. And I want young people, particularly I want old people to believe in themselves, to know that they should be inspired, uplifted, rejuvenated. And because look, if you got to be 65 and now you're 85, you got a reason why you're here, right? Enjoy it and do things with it.
Sure.
And I gotta say about people.
Sure. What's, books coming out? Well, books officially out. You're donating the proceeds. Um, just talk to me about why you want to do that. I know it
Well,
means a lot to you with Newark and
yeah, well, the thing for me is that the city of Newark has been so gracious and so wonderful to me. When I was 14 years old, 15 years old, there used to be a program called the Speedy Program. And they have a program like that now in the city of New York and all over, where they allow youth to come in and earn their little weekly wages or hourly wages and the whole of the bit. And I used to go into the New York City Hall, and my job was to clean the bathrooms and wash down the walls. I was 14 or 15 years old. And at that time, there was a gentleman who was the mayor of the city of Newark. His name was Sharp James. And I'm scrubbing down the walls. And when he came in and he would go, hey, young man, what are you doing washing down the walls? And I was like, sir, this is what my assignment has been for the day. He said to me, but I don't understand why you washing walls in the city hall. I said, sir, this is what they gave me to do. He said, so tell me, what do you want to do in your life? And I was like, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. He said, put down that water and put down that cloth. Tell me who your supervisor is. And he called the supervisor. And he said, I don't want him washing down walls. I want him to work in my office. And I go, and man, we had such a anything I went to do in the city of Newark, this man supported me. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it was what it was. When I was 17 years old, I was making $57,000 a year. And my mother said, what kind of money you making, boy? I said, Ma, I showed her the pay stub. She go, really? And I was like, Mama, yeah, this is what I make. And even my oldest, my brother who I love so much, worked at the YMCA as a janitor. And my oldest sister, she was just going to school. And when I began to make that money, it made our lives totally different. Totally, 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 totally different. And I said to my mother when I was 16 or 17 years old, Mom, I want to go to Paris, France. And she looked at me and she said, you a fool. I was like, no, I'm not a fool. I said, Ma, I can go over there and work as a model and I can get $125 an hour. She said, I'm gonna tell you something. Yeah, you can go. You got one phone call, one collect phone call. Outside of that, don't call me. So I went over there, man, and the first 6 months was the hardest 6 months of my life because I only had $2,000. That $2,000 had to pay for that hotel room and eat and the whole other bit. So I took a job at a restaurant on the Champs-Elysees, frying chicken and cutting up collard greens and cabbage. And this guy came into the restaurant. And he said to me, he said, you from America? I said, yeah, from America. He said, so you came all the way over here to fry chicken and cut up. So he said, let me see your portfolio. And I love this girl who took my pictures. She went to high school with me because I was still in high school. He said, oh, well, this is why you ain't working. He did a whole new shoot for me. Man, I went to work for every pret-a-porter, every runway that exists. And I was making like $3,000 every 2 days. And so I would send my mother the money. And when I would send her the money, she calls me and she goes, are you doing anything illegal over there? Where you getting this money from? I said, Mama, I'm modeling and I'm working. She said, ain't nobody paying you that kind of damn money. Should I put this money in the bank? I said, yes, Mama. Put the money in the bank. It's illegal money. But from that, when I came home, man, my mother always wanted a house because we always rented. And my two oldest sisters, I said to them, let's get her a house. And we got her a house. The house that she lived in for many years and she died in as well. Um, I think when you put your eyes on the prize, you can do anything you want to do. That's what it's all about for me. It's about making people aware that they can do whatever they want to do. If you believe it, if you think it, you can really do it. That's what this book is before I let you go about. I want to give you something. And because maybe I didn't give you something in all of these 67 years, I want to give you something now to say that you're great, greater, and the greatest at what you're going to do. You got to believe in yourself.
I guess final question. It seems weird to say because I know you're always working on something else, but what's next for Angelo?
But I always wanted to get in films and producing and directing. And these wonderful people at BET and Swirl have come to me and they're going to do a special on my life and they're going to do a documentary, I should simply say. And they're doing the TV series. But I've always wanted to, with all the films that I did with DMX and with Entume, I always wanted to direct and I always wanted to produce. That's where my energies are going. I'm going to continue because I still got to pay bills. I ain't stupid. I'm still going to continue double exposure. But my outreach is now to do films and TV. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to do another book, never ever again. If I do, I'm going to do a memoir book, but I'm going to be 6 feet underneath the ground before that book gets released.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. It's a, you know what, man, my life has been, it has been really been an elevator ride. And I believe in confidentiality. I can't sit up and talk about people because that's what they hired. You know, they hired me for confidential to be confidential. I don't believe in telling nobody's story if they ain't told the story. Let them tell the story, you know? Um, Sacred, private, very confident and confidential. I'm not telling nobody's life. I'm not telling nobody's story. I ain't getting paid to tell nobody's story. They would get paid to write their own books. And so therefore, never, ever, ever again. And that's why I keep telling people, this is it. I ain't writing no more books.
All right.
See what's, you know, let's just see what God brings my way.
I love that. Angelo, congratulations on the street name, and that's amazing. Congratulations on all these
Thank you.
opportunities. I'm glad you're getting all these flowers while you can. I'm enjoying the book. I'm gonna finish that up, and I look forward to talking to you soon, man. Hopefully we
I
see
appreciate
you.
you. And let me say this to you, my man. I salute you for your consistency, your persistence, in continuing to do what you do. That's the key thing of life, man. Never to sway from it. Good times, bad times, difficult times. You, my brother, I've been knowing you for a very, very long time, and you've been doing what you're doing. And I'd say bravo to you. Continue to do it.
Thank you, thank you.
I
Appreciate
appreciate you. I really do. I really do
it.
appreciate you.
All right, Angelo. Nice
Go
talking.
make some money. Go make some money. Go make
Listen,
that money.
got to, got to. Enjoy the rest of the day.
God bless you, brother. I really appreciate this. Thank you so very much.
You too, man. Of course.
Be blessed. Go make that money.
All right, man. Yeah.
Blessing to you.